Avril Phaedra Douglas Campbell, better known as Kim Campbell since her early teenage years, was born in March 1947 and so far is the only woman to have served as the Canadian Prime Minister. Her term was very brief, only from June the 25th to November the 4th, 1993. She was elected by the Progressive Conservative Leadership Convention in early June 1993 to replace the retiring Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. She was briefly notably popular because she seemed much more authentic in her public comments than Mulroney, who had, according to a biographer, Jim Watts, the reputation for talking a great deal and saying very little of substance. And ironically, by the time Campbell had been Prime Minister for over 2 months, and she called a federal election in early September 1993, the Progressive Conservatives had moved solidly into the second place in the public opinion polls and were only a few percentage points ahead of the main opposition party, the Liberals. However, already on that day, September the 8th, 1993, the trouble started when, at a press conference following the election announcement, one journalist asked Prime Minister Campbell if she had a program for overhauling, plan for overhauling Canada's social programs. Campbell answered that the election campaign simply was not long enough for her to discuss such an overhaul, complete overhaul. However, one journalist claimed that Campbell had supposedly answered the question that the election campaign was not the time to discuss serious issues. That was actually not what she said. She also told Canadians to expect high unemployment and inflation rates until the end of the century, which of course also made her popularity fall. Her campaign seemed very poorly run, to quote a contemporary Canadian history book, and by early October 1993, the Progressive Conservatives had tumbled already to the 20% range, and it was clear that they would be massively defeated. However, the magnitude of their defeat, which was partly caused also by that very disgusting television ad that mocked Jean Chrétien's facial paralysis, and which even a number of progressive conservatives objected to. The magnitude of the defeat became known on election night on October the 25th, 1993, when the Progressive Conservatives collapsed to just 16% of the popular vote and only were able to elect 2 members to the House of Commons, neither one of whom was Prime Minister Campbell. One of them was Campbell's strong challenger, second place finisher at the 1993 Progressive Conservative Leadership Convention, Jean Charest. The other one was L.C. Wayne. Campbell, who has been married twice and was divorced both times, although her second husband walked out on her. And then now she has a long-term common law marriage relationship with a third man, decided to leave politics, and then she published an autobiography, Time and Chance, in 1996. The book became a Canadian bestseller. In 1996, she was appointed Consul General to Los Angeles by the Chrétien government. She remained in that position until 2000. While she was there, she collaborated with her husband, third husband, Hershey Felder, who is also a composer, playwright, and actor, on the production of a musical, Noah's Ark. From 1999 to 2003, she chaired the Council of Women World Leaders, a network of women who hold or have held the office of President or Prime Minister. She was succeeded by former Irish President Mary Robinson. From 2003 to 2005, she served as President of the International Women's Forum. From 2001 to 2004, she was with the Center for Public Leadership and lectured at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Campbell chaired the steering committee of the World Movement for Democracy from 2008 to 2015. While testifying in April 2009 at the Mulroney-Schreiber Airbus inquiry, Campbell said she still follows Canadian politics intermittently. In April 2014, Campbell was appointed the founding principal of the new Peter Lougheed Leadership College at the University of Alberta. As Justice Minister from 1990 to 1993, Campbell brought about a new rape law that clarified sexual assault and whose passage firmly entrenched that in cases involving sexual assault, no means no. She also introduced the Rape Shield Law legislation that protects a person's sexual past from being explored during trial. Campbell was ranked number 20 out of the first 20 Prime Ministers of Canada through Jean Chrétien by a survey of 26 Canadian historians used by J.L. Granatstein and Norman Hilmer in their 1997 book, Prime Ministers Ranking Canada's Leaders. In 2011, in a follow-up article co-authored by Hilmer for Maclean's magazine, a new survey of over 100 Canadian historians ranked Campbell last among Canada's first 22 Prime Ministers through Stephen Harper. By education, she's a lawyer. She earned first an honors bachelor's degree in political science from the University of British Columbia in 1969, despite having actively participated in extracurricular activities. She then completed a year of graduate study at that school to qualify for doctoral level studies. She tried to finish a PhD on the Soviet government, but did not. In 1983, she earned a bachelor's degree in law from the University of British Columbia, being then called to the British Columbia Bar in 1984 and practicing law in Vancouver until 1986. She was hired for part-time lecturing, university lecturing in British Columbia, and then became involved in the Social Credit Party. In 1983, she was a candidate in the provincial legislative elections, but was defeated in 1986. She did win a seat after having placed, however, last in the British Columbia Social Credit Party's leadership election that earlier that year. She was strongly opposed to the populist right-wing premiership of William van der Zalm and remained on the backbenches, and then conveniently switched parties in 1988 when she decided to become the Progressive Conservative candidate for Vancouver Centre. She was very narrowly elected. She first became the Minister of State for Indian Affairs and Northern Development in 1989, and then moved in 1990 to the Minister of Justice portfolio, and then in January 1993 became the Minister of National Defence and Minister of Veterans Affairs.